Good morning. We're out here at Baton Roots Community Farm this morning demonstrating a very old photographic printing technique called cyanotype. So cyanotype was originally invented by a scientist named Sir John Herschel in 1842 and was later used by a botanist and photographer named Anna Atkins to make kind of the first printed book of photographs. And she used that to document British ferns and algae also around the mid-1800s. And so it's a process that you're probably familiar with because it's been used for a very long time to print blueprints. Originally, that's how architects printed their blueprints. And now it's used for what we're calling today sun prints. And so we're out here choosing different botanicals from the farm, and we're going to use two different processes for the cyanotypes. One is a dry process and one is a wet process. So the process uses two different chemicals. One is potassium ferrocyanide, not cyanide like poisonous cyanide, and the other chemical is ferric ammonium citrate. And so when you mix these two chemicals together in equal parts and coat a surface, usually paper or fabric, you get something that is sensitive to UV light. And so when you expose it to UV light, anywhere, any areas that are covered and don't get UV light will stay white or light colored, and places that do receive the UV light will turn a darker blue. And so we're gonna demonstrate how to do both processes. I have gone ahead and coated the paper beforehand, but what I would have done if I hadn't done that is mix equal parts of these two chemicals and use a foam brush or just a regular paintbrush to coat the chemicals onto my paper. So I'm going to show you really quickly because as soon as it starts to get light, it's going to start to expose. So this is what the coated paper looks like. And we're going to place some botanicals onto the paper and then put it onto a surface and clip it down so that we make what's called a contact print, and we'll show you the results. So this one I'm going to show the dry process and just add some botanicals directly to my paper. Okay, and we'll set this one aside for just a second and work on the wet. So even if you have your paper already coated, you can add some water just like in a little spray bottle, and then some other things like vinegar, just regular white vinegar, will give you some different color variations. And then some things like regular sea salt, if you sprinkle a little bit of that on. Turmeric will give you some different color variations, some oranges, and other spices and things that you have in your spice cabinet will also give you some nice colors. So I'm gonna put some more things on top of this one. Yeah, let's do that one. I'm gonna put my piece of glass on top. And I just have some refrigerator clip magnets that I'm going to clip it closed with. You don't have to do this. You can just lay the botanicals directly on top of your treated paper. You just won't get as clear an image as if you make good contact with the image. So here we go with our printing. We're going to leave it out in the sun for a few minutes and we'll come back and show you how to wash it and develop it and what happens. So we've left our prints out for about 20 minutes on a day that's pretty cloudy. It's going to depend on how much sun you have, how long you have to leave them out. Anywhere between 6 minutes on a really sunny day to 20 or 30 minutes on a day that's more cloudy. You can't, when you're working with botanicals, you can't really over process them. So the longer you leave them out, the deeper blue you'll get. Some people leave them out as long as an hour in the sun, even in bright sun. So we're going to wash these and develop them and see what we come up with. Here I have just plain rinse water, and then in the middle I have some hydrogen peroxide. This isn't necessary for the process, but it does make them develop faster. If you just rinse the sensitizer off and leave them overnight, you will develop that blue, that deep blue color. But the hydrogen peroxide just makes that chemical reaction happen a little bit faster. And then I just have another rinse here on the end. Okay, so we're going to take off our clips and see what's happened with our prints. You'll notice here that these have been left out in the sun and the sensitizer has turned this grayish color. That's how you know that you're gonna get some of those good blue colors. So this is the dry process that we used. We're gonna put that in the rinse water and leave it for about 90 seconds. And then this one is the wet process that we used. So I'm just gonna knock off some of the spices and things that we used on there and put that one in the rinse water. It helps to agitate them just a little bit. This process is relatively non-toxic and use very little of the chemicals. So some people do use gloves when they do this process. I don't. But if you're worried about it, you can certainly put some gloves on. Okay. So I'm not going to leave these the whole 90 seconds. I'm going to show you what happens when we put them into the hydrogen peroxide. You can see how quickly they start to develop that deep blue color. That doesn't take very long, so I'm just going to pop them in the last rinse. And this is what we came out with. If you're interested in learning more about this process, Jacquard Products are the chemicals that I use. That's the brand that I use. Bostic and Sullivan is a photographic website that also sells the chemicals. And then alternativephotography.com is another website where you can get information about this process. Locally, Moe's Art Supply does carry the chemicals, and it's very easy to get started.